Bienvenidos a Diálogos, soy Facundo Guadaño y en este especial estamos con una de las personas que más admiro dentro de la industria cinematográfica. Hablo de Lloyd Kaufman. How are you, Lloyd? Is that from
I have COVID, and when I got COVID, suddenly I could play the clarinet. It's a miracle.
That is the magic of COVID, I think.
The gift of COVID. Nice to meet you, Facundo, and thank you so much for your wonderful intellectual podcast. And I really appreciate the attention that you are giving to 50 years of Troma entertainment.
50 years of Troma entertainment, and actually, Lloyd, what caught my attention is what, like 8 years ago, I spoke with one person. I was trying to get a DVD from Troma, and I don't remember which was. I guess it was screenplay. I guess it was screenplay, and this person said, "Okay, yes, I'm going to send you this," but and I said, "Is this the official release?" And he said, "No. Troma never did a release in Argentina. Why is that?"
First of all, every movie that we have ever made in 50 years is bootlegged in Argentina. So it's not up to release any movies in Argentina. No Argentinian distributor wants our movies, and every movie is bootlegged. So you can get all our movies in Argentina. It's just that the artists do not get any money from Argentina. So it has nothing to do with Troma not distributing to Argentina. We love Argentina, and I sent my daughter there to visit Argentina at least one time.
Well, I guess that Argentina is like when you were visiting in the Peace Corps, I guess. Like suddenly in Argentina with inflation, debt, and all that, you can have that kind of adventure. And well, one thing that I wanted to know is that you were in jail, and not in jail, in prison. You were in the jail university, and
same thing.
And what I wanted to know is, like, who were your main influences?
And as you can see by my latest movie, #Shakespeare Shitstorm, Shakespeare is a very big influence on me. We made Tromeo and Juliet, James Gunn and I, back in 1993. And this year we are presenting #Shakespeare Shitstorm, which is based on Shakespeare's The Tempest, maybe his last play. And this maybe is my last movie. As far as directors who have influenced me, remember, I'm 76 years old, and I caught the movie virus when I was at Yale University because my roommate was running the Yale Film Society, and they were very big auteur theorists. They believe in the director as the dictator of the movie. So I believe in that also. So the directors that influenced me are Chaplin and Keaton and John Ford, Howard Hawks, Jean Renoir, Fritz Lang, Leni Riefenstahl, Stan Brakhage, mainly the great auteur filmmakers of the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Today, I think I'm a big fan of Tarantino, who also is a big fan of Troma. I'm a big fan of Del Toro, who also is a big fan of Troma. I like other modern day. I think Tarantino is an influence on me today because he's the one who suggested that I make Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High. that that I make a two-part movie. He's the one who suggested I do something more ambitious, like Kill Bill. So I did Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High. So, but mostly the great directors of the auteur directors of the past, before I would say 1970. That's those directors, I think, molded my brain.
And well, I guess that you are from New York, but you know, or in the European landscape, I don't know if you had any influence of film noir that was like huge in the 40s, for example, in the 40s and the 50s.
Film noir.
Yeah.
Bien sûr, Chabrol and in fact, we have a film noir satire directed by John Avildsen. John Avildsen, who directed Rocky. Before he made Rocky, he made Cry Uncle, which was a satire of film noir like Cry Terror, Cry Bravo, Cry Murder, Cry Uncle. It means Uncle, stop, right? Cry Uncle, and it's a very funny movie. You can see it on Troma Now, our streaming service. The Troma Now app is free, and you can see all the movies, 50 years of Troma and more on Troma Now, and it's free the first month, and only $4.99 per month. I don't know how much that is in Argentinian peso, but it's very cheap, and the first month is free. So I hope Argentinian Troma fans will go to Troma Now, and there are more than 1,000 moving pictures there.
What happened with the YouTube videos that Troma, because I think that by 2012 Troma released like the whole movie catalog on YouTube. What happened? Because I think that it's down now.
Well, we wanted to give a gift when we attained 40 years. We wanted to give a gift to our fans, so we put all the movies for free on YouTube. But 10 years later, YouTube canceled the YouTube Troma YouTube movies. They say community standards. After 10 years, they say no good, go away. But the good news is our fans were very angry, and the fans swamped. They bombarded YouTube, and then 2 days later, YouTube put back the channel. But my partner Michael Herz was very upset, so we decided to move everything to Troma Now. So now all our movies are on Troma Now. We still have the Troma YouTube channel, but that's more of a news channel. It has more of my editorials and more information, whereas Troma Now has all our movies, and every month we add about 6 new movies by wonderful, talented, independent directors of today. We discovered many famous directors like James Gunn and Eli Roth and Trey Parker and Matt Stone. We discovered actors like Samuel Jackson and Paul Walker and Marissa Tomei and many others, Vincent D'Onofrio. So now there are new directors, and we are showing their movies on Troma Now every month. So you can see thousands of movies, much more interesting than Netflix or any of the streaming services, because they are showing sausages. We are showing nicely flavored, delicious, very gourmet dinners, not just hot dogs and hamburgers like Netflix and Amazon.
Yes, I agree with that, but I want you I want you to have like some reaction with this. I don't know if you can see this, but here, this is, I don't know if this is, yes, The Girl Who Returned, your first film.
Oh my God, that's look at that.
What? Well, I have my own supply of trauma movies. So, The Girl Who Returned is your first film. So, what I wanted to know is like, what came to your mind when doing this? It's like an experimental film with Mongolia and other country, like they, it's like the Olympics of like a war, but in sports. So what was the idea behind it?
Well, thank you for showing that. The idea is all my movies have some kind of basis in contemporary society. And I'm watching this. It's kind of funny. They're cute. The women are very cute. The idea is when I made this movie when I was at college at Yale University, and Yale was all boys. So we didn't really know much about women. It was kind of a war. We didn't have any boys. We only had boys. We only had boys. So girls were a mystery. They were like hunting. Was like a hunting game. I don't think I should go any further, but it was men against the women. So that's what this movie was all about. The young college students don't understand proper behavior with the with each other. So
You know,
anyway,
it is an odd movie. It is an odd movie, but yeah, I mean, you had this sense of humor that it could be like grotesque for some people, but I find it very amusing. And I know that you showed this in Yale. How was their reaction when you showed this
well,
movie?
thank you, Facundo. I learned two. I've not watched any of this for about 70 years. No, about 60, 55 years, I guess.
Mm.
But I was at Stanford University studying Chinese for the summer, and I decided to make a movie. And most of these people are from Stanford University in California. But if you watch the entire movie, you will see a scene with Michael Herz, my partner of 50 years, and his beautiful wife, very funny. And Michael Herz does not appear in public. So this is a rare scene, a rare video with a rare film footage with Mr. Michael Herz. These are all women now, but later on, when the men and the women come together to compete, you'll see Michael and his beautiful wife Maris competing against each other. So it was my first feature-length attempt, and we did show it at Yale. I learned two things. One, that no matter how bad a movie is, no matter how terrible, the audience will not ask for their money back. The Yale students paid $1 to watch this movie. Nobody asked for their money back, and I'm sure they hated it. The second thing I learned is that we made a poster, and the poster was a picture of that young woman, that woman there, and she's lying on her back. She's very tired. Maybe she's very tired, and she lies on her back, and she's very sweaty, and she has on a tight T-shirt, so her breasts are sticking up, and it looks kind of sexy. So the auditorium was full in 1968, and at the same time, there was a movie being presented by what the hell's his name? Oh, there's the poster. Look at that. See, that looks sexy. So we put that poster up, and the auditorium was full, $1 a piece. So I made about $300. And there was another poster of Moonrise by what the hell's his name? Moonrise. Crap. Anyway, a film noir director, a very good film noir director. Crap, not Joseph Lewis, but crap. The guy who did the Black Cat and all that. Anyway, I can't remember his name. Anyway, all they did
Frank
was put up.
Borzage?
What's that?
I'm checking. It's Frank Borzage.
Borzage. That's
Borzage.
it.
Okay, sorry.
Frank Borzage, one of the great film noir. He was an art director, and then he became a director in the United States of film noir and B pictures, all masterpieces. Any rate, they put that poster up, and no, 3 people showed up, but I put up the sexy poster, and a lot of people showed up. So I did learn quite a bit from the from the experience, shall I
Yeah.
say?
Yes, I guess that what you learned was the promotion of a movie and how to get people interested, because well, Troma after that became like a porno thing in some sense.
Became a what?
So became like a porno thing in some sense, and blowing was part of
That's
that.
just a little sample of the talent that's in Uncle Lloyd's head. But I could play that perfectly. I could play, if I didn't have COVID, I could play this perfectly and run after some foxes. Any rate, back to your question. Sorry.
Yes, not that. Well, that was like the beginning of what actually in the 70s, Troma became like a some kind of porno comedy films sometimes.
Mhm.
And well, there's something else that I want to show that for me is really funny. That is this thing, a movie that I look up for it and I couldn't find it, but is this one. Let me see if I can share it.
You say this is your favorite film?
Well, I guess I don't
No.
know if this is my favorite film, but the way that Troma promoted, in the sense that it is Troma masterpiece in an absurd way, and someone commenting on it, the Battle of Love's Return, that is your second movie, with comments on it, that's hilarious. So what's the idea again, besides, or sorry, behind this
Well,
movie and
mm,
the re-releasing of it?
this movie, Battle of Love's Return, is the first movie in which Oliver Stone was in the movie. I discovered Oliver Stone also. He is in this movie, and then we made another movie together, and then he became a maniac and won many Oscars. But we discovered him. Whether he and the Battle of Love's Return is again identity issue. Young people need to find their identity, and I had a lot of trouble with that. So I make it very personal and make a personal film. As far as the stupid commentary, there was a Troma fan about 15 years ago who wanted to do this, and he was something wrong with him. I think he is anyway, I felt sorry for him, so I gave him permission to do this for free, and he made some money with it. And then he did some things I didn't like, so I don't talk to him anymore.
Okay. I didn't want to go into that. I just thought that it was funny because this movie is really hard to get. And well, when I found it and I found this commentary, I thought that it was funny, but I don't know what your reflection about it is.
I never listened to it, but I was trying to help somebody. I gave him the rights for free to do
Hmm.
this, and in return, he was a shithead. So anyway, it doesn't matter. But you can see Battle of Love's Return without the commentary, or maybe with the commentary. I don't know, but you can see it on Troma now, safely and securely. And this movie did get into theaters, 19 made in 1970, I think, and did very. It got very good reviews in the New York Times and in many of the very intellectual film journals of the day. And
Well,
many of Andy Warhol's, not many, but a number of Andy Warhol's actors were in the Battle of Love's Return because I was a big fan of Andy Warhol, and I used to visit when I was going to university. I would come to New York and visit. I would hang around Warhol's factory and Max's Kansas City and inhale the atmosphere of Warhol. So he was big influence on Troma for sure.
So you were basically always like an arty person. Yeah, I know that you're like in all of your interviews, like you're like this character, music, and all that. But when you when you actually see how a trauma movie is done, you have to be like very strict. You have to be like you have to be very focused. So uh, how is to be behind a trauma movie, and I'm going to be talking now about the most famous movie of trauma, that is the Toxic Avenger. So how was developing that, that has some risky scenes, uh, cars exploding, all that, how was filming that with almost no budget?
Well, Michael Herz and I directed together in those days, and Michael Herz is a very good director. He doesn't do it anymore because he didn't want to get wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and worry about parking the trucks and where the bathroom is going to be and when will lunch come. And when you have low budget, there are many, many, many moving parts, and the producer, director, and writer, you have to be involved with everything because we have very young, inexperienced fans for the most part who are making our movies. So Toxic Avenger was quite difficult, but it's I've written 7 books, by the way. My first book is now in Spanish, and it talks all about the Avenger Toxico, or Toxico Vengador Toxico.
El
The
Vengador
first book
Tóxico.
is now in Spanish, and you can get it, I think. I don't know where, probably Amazon, if you want to read all about Toxic Avenger and how I learned everything I know about filmmaking from the Toxic Avenger. All I need to know about filmmaking, I learned from the Toxic Avenger. That's the title of that book, and there are 6 other books I've written. The first book was written with James Gunn, by the way, who, as you know, has made a few notable movies.
Yes, of course, yes. But there's something else about the Toxic Avenger that all of the fans were awaiting, and I actually emailed Troma like 9 years ago, asking for one song. That is when Melvin is like dancing, and is this one. I really don't know how you guys came up with this soundtrack, but let's listen a little bit of Late on Line. This is
But you really, really don't know how. Better get some lesson from the boy behind the stars. Yeah, you just got your spoon on the top, and the knife and fork shaking.
this was really hard to get.
Uh,
So
is that Delmar Brown's music? I believe that's Delmar Brown, no?
no, this is
Oh,
Robert Mullins. No, no, no. Robert Mullins. I
I'm sorry, I don't remember, but we had wonderful music. We always get good music because music and movies are very closely related, and kind of the punk music people. Or I don't know how you describe it, punk metal, whatever you want to call it. They like Troma, so we get a lot of free music, including Motorhead and Sublime and. Many famous musicians give us free music, Misfits, many others. So they like Troma.
and of course the Toxic Avenger has a soundtrack itself. So how was the idea? I mean, like the Toxic Avenger was like developed like a superhero that was going to be like it's going to be distributed, and you guys set up a soundtrack for that. How was the idea, like um this this track that that doesn't come up to my mind now, that is body talk, body talk. uh how was the arrangement for that? How was the how was organizing all the composition for that soundtrack?
It came by, I don't know. Honestly, I believe that Miranda, the woman who played Sarah, now I can't, I have a COVID, it affects my brain, COVID. What's her name? The woman who played Sarah in the movie. Uh, anyway, I believe she produced that song. And if I'm not mistaken, the father of Corey Feldman, the child actor, his father, I believe, wrote this song. And I believe that uh, she, the star of Toxic Avenger, that she recorded it. I believe. I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't. I don't remember, but it's a great song, no question about it. Body talk, body talk. So I'm not sure. I can't. It's a long time ago. It's Toxic Avenger is 1983, so I forgot much of it.
Well, one thing that I was checking. These days I was like rewatching again some movies, and Class of Newham High had Clive Burr. That Clive Burr was the first drummer of Iron Maiden, and I thought, is this the real Iron Maiden? And yes, he was. And actually, that you guys made a music video, and I guess that was on MTV or something.
I don't. I'm sorry, don't remember. But we've been, as I say, we've been very fortunate. The music and movies. People think that movies and still photography are closely related. That's wrong. Music and movies are closer. A symphony and a movie, a good symphony and a good movie can be deconstructed together, and they work very similarly. So we've been very fortunate that a lot of famous musicians like the messages of our movie. Toxic Avenger is all about the environment and the corruption of giant devil worshipping international corporate greed and blah, blah, blah. And even today, hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm is all about contemporary society. It's very entertaining and a lot of fun. But hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm deals with very important social issues, and I think that's in large part why our fans are so active and so, like you, so supportive of Troma. We are the last independent movie studio that's genuinely independent, that isn't living off the crumbs from the big Hollywoods and international studios. We are doing everything ourselves.
And something else, I guess it was like, yes, I guess like it was like 9 years ago. I was going into the catalog of Troma, and I found this movie. I know that you were not the director of it, but it's a masterpiece, and I want to share a little bit of When Nature Calls. Actually, the trailer for Baby Bullets.
Some say
Charles Kaufman.
he was born in the back of a pickup truck. Some say it was a highway rest stop. And some say he was belched full form from the chrome exhaust of a dead-headed semi. But wherever he came from, he was destined to become hell on wheels. It's the story of Baby Bullets. Too young.
Well, I believe this is a masterpiece. So I guess it's in the line of The Naked Gun or National Lampoon. But how were your thoughts when you received this movie?
Well, first of all, my brother Charles Kaufman wrote and directed that movie, and it was before. I think it was in 19 was a long time ago. So it was a very early, and in fact, Tarantino and the other guy, they made a movie called Grindhouse. Right? They spent $60 million. When Nature Calls is better, and When Nature Calls was made for no money, and it's funnier, and it's more like a satire of a drive-in program. That was the idea of When Nature Calls. You had the trailers, then you had the feature-length movie about the animals. It was like going to a drive-in. And Tarantino and the other guy tried to make a similar movie, but they spent $60 million. So it was not successful, in my opinion, because it didn't seem real. And it wasn't funny the way my brother's movie is. By the way, Charles Kaufman also wrote and directed Mother's Day, which Eli Roth says is the best horror film he's ever seen. So check out Mother's Day. All these movies, by the way, are on Troma Now, our streaming service. And all of the money that we make there goes to support independent cinema and the young directors who are making new movies for Troma and for Troma Now. So please tell your fans to subscribe to Troma Now. It's the future, but now.
Well, it is the future, but now, and I encourage so in Spanish, suscríbanse a Troma Now, así Lloyd Kaufman puede llegar a fin de mes, por favor. So in Spanish, that
I got it. I understood. Gracias. I understood enough, and I speak French, so I can kind of get it. Thank you. Thank you. Gracias.
You're welcome. But I think that Troma in his catalog has some big movies that didn't give up to big like mainstream. For example, When Nature Calls. But When Nature Calls has this odd thing about the Indians, about the National Lampoon thing of driving and the wife and the kid that is imitating Donald Trump. So it's really a masterpiece. So why it didn't have the commercial success that we would expect of a masterpiece like that?
One problem we had was the poster. The poster was originally a kind of a satire of Gone with the Wind. We had a bear who looked a little bit like Clark Gable, and he had a woman in his arms, a beautiful blonde woman in his arms. And then underneath that, we had a lot of crazy cartoon figures. And the name of the movie, When Nature Calls. But MGM, they sued us because they said we were imitating Gone with the Wind. We were imitating. We were profiting. We were making money from Gone with the Wind. When Nature Calls, you got to go. That means when you have to go to the bathroom, you have to take a piss. Apparently, yeah, there it is. That apparently was too close to Going with the Wind. So we got sued by MGM and Ted Turner. So and that hurt the film. And then it just never. Also, Troma never has money. We have no money to advertise. So we are always on our own. Nobody helps us. Nobody answers our phone calls. And MGM fucked us because satire is legal in the United States. But whoever has the golden rule, he who has the gold rules. And MGM could spend $500,000, even if they lose in the courthouse, even if they lose the case, we don't have $500,000 to hire lawyers. So we had to change the poster. And it's a very bad, fuck MGM. And now they're bankrupt, of course. So they're part of Amazon. So Troma's still here and no MGM. It's all part of a phone company or internet company or whatever.
Yes, and well, actually 50 years of Troma. And what I wanted to share now is, well, again, I guess I saw this when I was 17 years old, and this was actually hilarious for me. And actually, this is a movie from the future. I'm trying to get it. I'm not so sophisticated with this. Is this one? So,
by the way, let me say that When Nature Calls came out way before those National Lampoon movies, not before Animal House, but before the ones with Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Tarantino and I can't remember his name. He's a great director. They're both great directors, and I admire them both. But they didn't. I'm sure they saw When Nature Calls. Unfortunately, I would love to see a double feature with When Nature Calls and what was the movie again? Grindhouse. Be a good double feature.
But about making movies from the future, let's check this before Jurassic Park, actually.
Great. Yay.
That's real
Pretty
action
good,
there.
huh? All stop action. A Nymphoid Barbarian and Dinosaur Hell by Alex Perney. Alex Perney. All stop action. Incredible. In the 80s, right? When was this? 80s? 1980 something?
Well, it was released in 1991, but I guess it
Oh,
was
okay. But he made it in
made
the
in.
late 80s, I guess. Beautiful. It's great.
It's
Hulu played it a long time ago, and it was the #1 movie on Hulu, which is a very bad streaming service in the United States. But they played it, and then some soccer mom, some little cunt, didn't like the word nymphoid, so they removed the movie, even though there is no nudity in the film and no sex. They removed the film because the word nymphoid was considered a bad word. A nymphoid is actually a baby insect. So it's a baby mayfly. So apparently you're not allowed to have insects on I don't know. Anyway, the world sucks.
Yeah, sorry, I have some issues like controlling this keyboard.
Don't
Yes,
worry, don't worry. Thank you. And thank you for being so well prepared, Facundo. This is very interesting. Thank you.
well,
Very
and
interesting. Thank you for being so well prepared and for enjoying 50 years of Troma entertainment. And I hope you will like Troma now.
yes, one thing that well, in Argentina we have to be honest with this is that paying in dollars, everything is like we have a 60% of taxes when we are doing like a dollar buy.
Right.
So that is always difficult for us. So we try to get the movies like we can, and
Oh, well,
that
you
is
can get it free for a month. So you can find
yeah.
Screenplay. You can see Screenplay, Combat Shock, all your favorites, Bloodsucking Freaks in the first month, and then you quit. You don't have to pay.
I won't quit. I won't quit. But
Well,
I'm not
you're
a
a nice
quitter.
guy.
But in other sense, I wanted to talk about this screenplay that is actually a great trauma movie, and it's not in what the prototype of a trauma distribution movie is, like the humor thing. No, this is serious. This is a real thriller, a great crime movie. So how what are your thoughts about the screenplay that I know it's like 30 years ago actually?
Well, Rufus Sader, very talented guy, made screenplay. It was unfinished, and we paid for. We put quite a bit of money into finishing the movie, and it's with Cukor, famous underground filmmaker. The Cukor brothers were very well-known underground filmmakers, and the star of that movie with Rufus is one of the Cukor brothers. So it's a very significant movie. The problem was it was in black and white, and the American public couldn't accept black and white on the movies in those days. So unfortunately, screenplay was not successful. But in the fullness of time, it remains. It's a masterpiece. It's black and white, and it's on Troma now. It's funny. It's scary. It's upsetting. It's dark. It's a masterpiece, no question about it. And I'm glad that you like screenplay. By the way, Playa de Zombies, Argentinian film. I love that film, and the filmmakers, they're wonderful, crazy guys. Do you know Playa del Zombies? Zombie Beach? You know that movie, Argentinian movie?
Yes, I guess that yours. Let me do, but because I'm having it having that mixed. No, it's not Zombie Beach. No, maybe you're talking about the people of Gower Vision, maybe.
No, Playa, Playa, a beach, Playa de Zombies. Also, Tezada, comic book guy. Again, the COVID is making, I have a brain fog. Martin Terada, he's a comic book guy in Argentina, and he also makes some short films. I'm a big fan of his also, his comic books and his short films. Martin, I can't remember the last name, but hopefully he will probably see this, and maybe he will contact you. He's a very talented young Argentinian artist who I've known for many years.
Well, if I had to recommend some in the Troma vein, for saying it in some way, it will be Gore Vision in Argentina. We call it Gorevisión, and it's really in the Troma vein. I will email you with that, but it's really funny. It's really funny, and it has well, they use CGI. I know that you don't like it, but they use CGI, and they also use handmade stuff. But this is not about Gore Vision, actually. So, but there's something else that caught my attention some years ago with Troma. That was this movie, actually. That is Ángel Negro, or maybe Angel Negro. I don't know how to speak in English.
Yeah.
But it's a Chile. It's from a guy from Chile. Actually.
Chile, the first Chilean horror film.
Yes, and it has some Argentinian actors too. So
it's a wonderful film. It's the director is a big Troma fan, and we love him. And he's gone on to become very successful. And this is a wonderful, wonderful film. But we can take no credit other than we invested money and lost money on distribution. We couldn't really promote it well enough, but it's an excellent film. It's really, really good. And unfortunately, Troma doesn't really have a lot of money, so we have no money. So we don't. It's really only our fans and bouche à l'oreille, word of mouth, mouth to ear. We have the word of mouth of fans, but word of mouth takes a long time. When Spider-Man opens, they can spend $200 million in one country to promote the movie. When we open #Shakespeare Shitstorm, we can maybe spend $10,000, like a little tiny miette, a little crumb. So, we have no money. We only have the fans, the word of mouth, and the fact that our movies are very entertaining, and they have something to say, and they change the world a little bit.
And what is the filter for Troma to distribute a movie? Because if you watch a Troma movie, or actually distributed by Troma, it has like a mark, like a trademark. So what will be that filter again?
Good question. I think people who go to see a Troma movie in a theater, and that we make our movies for the cinema. The movies that we make have thousands of people in them. They have special effects, they have costumes, they have time travel, they have many, many ambitious elements, and they should be seen on a big screen. And the Troma movies, it's very important that they have something to say. So I think that people who go to the theater, they know they may love the Toxic Avenger. Maybe they will hate Terra Firma, but they know they will never forget #Shakespeare Shitstorm. People who watch a Troma movie, they know they will go on a ride in the cinema that they've never been on before. They will have genuine emotion. They will have genuine thoughts. They will have genuine soul experience, which you don't get from most of the mainstream movies. Troma films have the heart and soul and brain of the filmmaker, whether it's Lloyd Kaufman or James Gunn or Trey Parker or whoever's film we are presenting. They are auteur filmmakers, and the public The people who watch the movies will have real strong emotion. And many people would like that. Many people want to have strong emotions.
Yes, well, one strong emotion is supporting Shakespeare's shitstorm. I was cracking myself because Troma released like a promotion video that was like the marketing of the scene, that was pasting flyers in New York about go watch hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm actually. So how is promoting a film now, because you're like a classical guy, like go to the theater, go to that experience, not in a computer, go to the theater. So how is promoting that in New York, because in the states it's different, you have different states, but how is like like getting some people to go to a theater now in 2022, like now it's everything on streaming, and in an independent film that is called Shakespeare shitstorm. How is that, how is doing that?
Well, the hashtag is very important part of the title because the movie hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm deals with the evils of social media, the Twitter hate, Twitter bait, clickbait, all that nasty stuff. And the movie also deals with the evils of the giant pharmaceutical companies, which have created 300,000 deaths. 300,000 people died of opioid poisoning here in the United States. That's a lot more than Putin has killed in Ukraine. So it's hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm is a very, very important movie. And it unfortunately, I insisted that the word shit is in the title because it's based on Shakespeare's The Tempest, which means storm. And this movie has a shit storm. But I didn't want to change the title. So that has presented a lot of difficulties. No film festivals play it, except for the one film festival in Montreal. They big festival played it, and it was their most important film. But no newspapers would talk about it, and no, they couldn't get any critics or publicity because of the title. So then no other film festival would play hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm. But now it's it's been in the Museum of the Moving Image. It's sold out. And it's been playing at the best art house in New York, the Cinema Village, which has now held it over for a second week with no advertising. So that's pretty good. The word of mouth. The fans love us, and they will support Troma no matter where Troma movies are shown. The fans will turn out. They will come and fill up the theater. So maybe you have some theaters in. Where are you? And where are you now in Argentina?
In Buenos Aires.
Oh, wonderful. Bueno, I haven't. My daughters go there quite a bit. I haven't been. I would love to come, and if you show some Troma movies, I'll bring the commissioner with me, and Toxic Avenger. We come and visit. So if you can get some kind of Troma event going, we'll come and be tourists, and you can curate the Q&A or master class. In fact, I give master classes. I gave a master class at Oxford University in England, at Yale, at the Russian Film Institute 10 years ago, not now, of course. In France, Cinémathèque Française, all over the world. I've given the Make Your Own Damn Movie Masterclass. And if you go to my fan site, lloydkaufman.com, you can learn how to book my masterclass. I've done it at many universities and, as I mentioned, film societies. So that might be something interesting. I did one in Brazil a long time ago. I did a masterclass in Brazil. It was very successful. 2 days.
As we love COVID, we would like to have you now, but it's not possible. But 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 again, yes, that will be actually very interesting, and we support culture. So yes, this is a cultural series actually. So
Wonderful.
yes.
Do you
But
make movies, Facundo?
no, 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 no. That was a like a teenage dream, but it never go. We made some
Yeah, it
documentaries.
get harder and harder to make independent. It's easy in that you don't need money. You can use your telephone. But how do you live? How do you eat? How do you pay rent if you're independent filmmaker? Very difficult. And one of my books is called "Sell Your Own Damn Movie," and it talks quite a bit about how it's done, not just by Troma, but also by more important companies. Very good film, a very good book. Sell Your Own Damn Movie. Very useful.
So we made in Diálogos in this show. We did some documentaries, but it's not like for like theatrical screening. We would love, but
Excuse
it's
me.
not. But I want to know what this uh, these images brought you back. What kind of memories? Let's see.
Ah, one word: nightmare. It was
Why
a
nightmare?
nightmare.
This is Big
Terrible.
Gus. What's the fuss from
Yeah,
Troma?
we were stupid. We listened to people who were older and more experienced, and this movie is terrible. It's an embarrassment. But even this movie is bootlegged in America. As bad as it is, there are people selling it illegally in United States, in New York, in Long Island City, New York. But the FBI doesn't care about us. So it's a terrible movie. Nobody should see it. It's really bad. And
Well,
we unfortunately went to Israel. Michael Herz and I. We invested in. We had our friends. We raised the money along with Andy Lack, who is the boss at CBS and NBC. And we went to Israel. And by the time we got there, the Israelis had changed the script and messed the whole thing up and made a mess. And it was we should have closed the movie and it lost half the money and gone home and made a porno or something. It was a disaster, very bad.
what's the connection with you and Gore? Because I know that when you were young, you filmed like please correct me if I'm wrong, but like a pig being tortured or something like that, and you showed that to your family.
Well,
And
I spent a year in Chad, Africa, where I
Mhm.
was experimenting for the Peace Corps. I was a pathfinder for the Peace Corps, and I was teaching for the government of Chad. I live in the bush. I lived in no electricity, no running water, no telephone, no television, no nothing. It took 2 months for a letter to get to where I was, if it even arrived. And the people around me, they live in mud huts like Africa of the movies. Chad is a very wonderful country in Central Africa. Now it's very dangerous, but it was very poor, but it was healthy and people could eat and all that kind of stuff. But there were many naked women running around, and also they had to kill their own animals. I live in New York City. Other than the people in the subway and the people who mug you, there are no animals here. Well, we have dogs, I guess, and cats, and we have rats and birds, a few birds. But, we don't have farm animals. We don't see the preparation of the farm animal. In Africa, they people slaughter their own pig next, in the back of the house. So one day they were doing that, and so I had my camera and I filmed how they slaughter a pig to make it, and then cut it up to make ham. And they so I filmed that and spliced it together, and then showed it when I got home to my mother and her some of her bourgeois friends. And I enjoyed the fact that they were disgusted and upset, and it was a strong emotion. So I think Africa had a big influence on me. Both our gore in our movies is kind of cartoon. It's cartoon. It's not really realistic. But the pig movie that I made was very realistic, and it's kind of like a Warhol kind of a thing, except that it wasn't about people sleeping; it was about people cutting the throat of a pig. Now, by the way, I'm a big animal rights person. I am not against the slaughtering of the pig in Africa, but I'm against the farm factories. I made a short film for People's Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, where I show how humans will be processed in a factory farm. All the things that happen to a pig in a factory farm, the torture, the taking away of the babies, the living in a little box, the box on top where the pig pees on the box below, on the pig below, all the horrible things. I put that in a short film but humans were in the cages, not pigs, and it's gotten millions and millions of views. It's on the PETA, PETA2.com, or it's on. I think you can see it on Troma now also. But anyway, I'm vegetarian, and for the past 25 years or so, I've been vegetarian, and I am very big on animal rights.
That's when you come to Argentina, well, one of the traditional foods here is what will in the States will call roast, the asado. So it it will be
Well, of
very
course, you have
complicated.
the pampas. You have the pampas, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's like a traditional food, but we have the vegan roast actually, so it's not that hard. But I wanted to share something because that connection with gore is because of this scene that I won't play, but I will show an image, and it's
Okay.
this. Is this is Sergeant Kabuki Man,
Yes.
NYPD. This is the killing of of a child. You know, I
Two
didn't
children.
see that coming the first time. So what was the idea behind it? Because it's really mad.
Well, first of all, the children that are killed are my own children. So, how many parents can say they got to kill their own kids? That's kind of fun. I just thought it was crazy. So, it's very good to get the attention of the audience early in the movie. And Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD is a crazy movie, but also has very important themes to it about Western and Eastern cultures and economies. And at the time we made Sergeant Kabuki Man, there was tremendous anti-Japanese hate in the United States because the Japanese were buying many American companies and real estate, and they bought Rockefeller Center. And one of the congressmen here in the United States likened that to it's Pearl Harbor all over again. They actually said that in 1980 something. So that gave me idea to make a movie where a New York policeman who likes to eat hot dogs and what have you, he gets transformed into a 2,000-year-old kabuki superhero with some low budget super weapons like flying fire parasols, 16-bite sushi, uh, heat-seeking chopsticks. It's amazing I remember all this. Been a long time.
Yes, but you know, actually, these movies were like cult movies, and I think that you made a like a profit of it, like forgetting trauma. Like in my imagination, I guess that Toxic Avenger and Searching Kabuki Man were like the backbones for trauma to keep on with this thing because of course you talk about the word of mouth, but y- you need to sell actually movies. You actually need to sell, and I think that the backbone for it was the Toxic Avenger that actually became a cartoon. So how was the how was the I mean how was the development of trauma after the Toxic Avenger?
Uh, well, by the time we get the money, there's not a lot of money there. So we're always needing. We always have to scrounge. We've never had any real money. The only money we made is we owned the building in New York. We own a building. We owned a building in New York City, and 30 years later we sold it, and that was profitable. But we haven't really made much money from the movies. Troma now is really the only place where we are making some money now. And maybe if the Toxic Avenger remake, the big $1 billion remake of Toxic Avenger, which has been shot, it's now being edited. I think it's almost finished. Maybe we can make some money from that. I don't know. But it's very hard. Even though you can make a movie for zero, you don't need money to make movies anymore. It's very hard, as I said, to support your family if you make independent movies. Troma is unique because we have millions of fans and they support us, and we don't really have to advertise, and we don't have to do business with the big international movie companies who are making baby food. We are making jalapenos on the pizza, on the cultural pizza. Troma is the jalapeno of the cultural pizza, and many people want jalapeno on their cultural pizza. They don't want baby food like the Batman. Yes, it has facial hair, but it's to me it will not be popular in the fullness of time. Toxic Avenger will always be popular. Sergeant Kabuki Man, and in fact, we've made 5 Class of Nukem High movies. There've been 5 of them, so clearly that's one of our anchor movies. Class of Nukem High, Subhumanoid Meltdown, Class of Nukem High 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Subhumanoid, Class of Nukem High Part 3, Return to Nukem High, and then Return to Nukem High, which is a 2-part movie. There are 2 movies in one. Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High. So we have made a number of classics, and our early comedies like Squeeze Play and Waitress, and the first Turn On, which is Vincent D'Onofrio's first movie, Stuck on You, our best comedy perhaps. Those are all great movies, and they all were profitable. My brother's movie, Mother's Day, was very profitable. When Nature Calls was very profitable. My brother's movies were terrific, and but hard to keep going. Very hard to keep going because this industry is virtually a oligopoly. It's a cartel, like a monopoly. So if you are making your own movie, it's like toothpaste. If you don't have toothpaste from Colgate or Procter and Gamble, they're not going to put you in the window of the drugstore. Maybe you'll be in the back room, and if people know about you, they'll ask for Troma toothpaste. So luckily, we have a lot of people who want to use our toothpaste, who know about it after 50 years, and who are subscribing to Troma now. It's the future, but now. A little Prokofiev for you, Facundo, to show the fans that we need music in these dire times. So thank you very much. We'll continue when I'm in better health. Thank you. This was a beautifully prepared interview, and thank you so much for taking it so seriously. Really appreciate it.
So this was the first part of Diálogos with Lloyd Kaufman. This was the COVID interview. This is Lloyd Kaufman in a strange way with COVID. You don't get that every day. So we had Lloyd Kaufman with COVID in Diálogos. We will have full Lloyd Kaufman, full recovery in a couple of days. So we will see you next time. Soy Facundo Guadaño. Nos vemos en otra edición de Diálogos.